Okay, here's my audience. Here's my outline. And here are my verbal citations. Okay, so tonight for my informative speech, I will be discussing the Hollywood director Peter Jackson, who comes from a small country that most of us are aware of, but not so much when it comes to filmmaking, and that would be New Zealand. I want to discuss how Peter Jackson was able to culminate his vision to create one of the most ambitious film undertakings of the new century. From humble hobbit to the leading fantasy film director, Peter Jackson used his home environment to fuel his fantastical vision. But it didn't start there. Well, it started here at this small town where he was raised by his humble parents, who he lived a very simple childhood. His parents were, his mother was a housewife, his father was a paymaster, drove a delivery truck for money. And he states he's a product of both of his parents. In his early 20s, he launched his career shooting kind of no-budget films that didn't get a whole lot of traction, maybe local attraction in the New Zealand area, but nothing on the international stage. But Jackson kept at it, and he kept practicing his film techniques until he produced a film by the name of Heavenly Creatures, which really placed him on the Hollywood radar along with the international radar. A lot of people really did enjoy that movie. But that wasn't it for Jackson. He had some fall-throughs at that point. He didn't do so well. And so here's a shot from Heavenly Creatures right here. And so Jackson releases another film by the name of The Frighteners. This doesn't do well. It's like a kind of a cheesy horror flick that just kind of dies at the box office. So studios begin to grow nervous about Jackson. They don't want to fund him. They don't want to fund any of his ideas or his movies. So his two lifelong passion projects, King Kong and Planet of the Apes, don't get greenlit. They don't get any financing. So he doesn't do well there. So he explores his third passion, Lord of the Rings, the story of Frodo. And this is something he knows won't do well because it's a huge undertaking. It's like no studio is going to finance this huge project. Well, he gets some money from New Line Cinema to shoot his film in New Zealand, where he believes is the perfect location to shoot this film. So he's ready to go. So here we are now with the immense logistical feat of Lord of the Rings. He releases the Fellowship of the Rings to immense success and reward. And here he is with some pretty rudimentary equipment out there filming in the plains of New Zealand. Because of his success, he is greenlit for the next two films, along with the Hobbit trilogy, which he does a few years later after the trilogy. Huge success, very well rewarded. And here he is on set, working on The Hobbit. You can kind of see an update in equipment here. Cameras are a lot nicer. He's got a lot more technology to work with, studio, green screen, stuff like that. But this isn't the end for Jackson. Jackson decides he would like to focus more on restoring footage. He's done a lot in the world of fantasy, and he wishes to step back into reality and try and understand some aspects of life that he's interested in. And so we get films like The Beatles' Get Back, which is a vintage film restoration where he goes back and he's restoring film that was captured during the production of this album, the final Beatles studio album, and really documenting the turmoil the band went through, leading to their ultimate demise, their breakup. So it's kind of interesting the process that Jackson has gone through to get to this point, to really focus on things that he's really interested in now, and how he just really came from just humble beginnings to being able to do projects that he really truly cares about. That really is difficult to get funding for because of the logistics that go into restoring old footage. It's not something that's super easy to do. As stated by Joe Hagan in Come Together, Jackson says he didn't need to manipulate Lindsay Hodges' original footage or include talking heads to contextualize things, to create a dramatic film. The sessions formed their own story, and Get Back, he decided, could simply be a documentary about the documentary. In that way, I believe Jackson is really well at visually telling pre-written stories that have been given to us that maybe aren't fully complete, that can be visually portrayed in a new light and a new understanding. And I think that all came about because of Jackson's upbringing and his early life living in New Zealand and his creative vision. That's my informative speech. Thank you.